friends and family that you know and value their opinions are also a great source of information for you in looking for somebody who can help you. Thinking through some of the issues that you might have in your family is also a great way to start when you're going to be talking to a professional about estate planning and what your goals and needs might be.
I'm Tesh Patel. I'm an attorney with Cohen Pollock Merlin Turner, and I assist clients with the transition of wealth from one generation to the next in a tax-efficient manner.
I'm Mattson. I'm also an attorney at Cohen Pollock Merlin Turner, and I practice in the area of estate planning and probate and estate administration.
I would say that the Corporate Transparency Act has been described as trying to kill a mosquito or a fly with a sledgehammer. And I think that's an apt description. In essence, what it requires is every entity that's been in existence, in essence, from the beginning of time to register with FinCEN. And at the moment, only new entities have to register. New entities in 2024 have to register within a certain time frame. I believe it's 90 days.
I think that's true.
But by the end of the year, all existing entities that were formed prior to 2024 have to be registered with FinCEN as well. And registration is one thing, but maintaining and updating the ownership schedule, so to speak, or the registry is a whole other matter. And so that's where the complication comes in, because most clients, although they do annual registrations at a particular time of year, every year, of their entities, they're not always mindful of, when there's an ownership change, that they need to reflect on the FinCEN registry. And if they don't do that, then there are hefty financial penalties that apply.
Well, I think what we hear is the concern about the compliance reporting is that the information that's required isn't necessarily going to be easily accessible in the case of companies that have been in existence for a large number of years, things that might look back 20 years. It might be difficult to get some of the information that is required. And since the reporting requirement is that these reporting forms be completed by the end of the year, I think it's certainly in everyone's best interest to start sooner with the process, because it might be cumbersome to get some of that information.
Yes. At the moment, I've been telling clients that because there was this recent court decision that came out in Alabama, that perhaps if you've got a new entity that you formed in 2024, go ahead, comply with the Corporate Transparency Act. But if you have an existing entity, which is the majority of my clients, to get the information ready, but hold off on filing it until possibly towards the end of the year.
I think that's the perfect answer.
Until we get a little bit of resolution on the appeal.
Right. Perfect answer.
I think the number one issue that people come to me with is avoiding probate. And the simple answer to that is use a revocable trust. But I think, I would say that's probably the biggest one. There is stigma associated with going through the probate process. People don't necessarily want to go to court, don't want to have to deal with the bureaucracy and the procedure and so forth. And that's why I think now more than ever, revocable trusts are becoming more popular.
Absolutely. And part of the process with probate is the horror stories that people hear and share. And understanding what's involved with probate can alleviate a lot of the concern about whether that's really going to be a problem in your situation. So talking to somebody about your particular situation, your concerns, and whether avoiding probate is really something you need to concern yourself with, given the state where you live and the assets that you have and how your assets are titled. It may or may not even really be an issue for you, but I do agree that is a concern a lot of people come to us with as a primary goal in planning. Well, I would suggest talking to people that you trust is a great way to get names of attorneys that you could turn to ask questions, your financial advisors, your CPAs. Friends and family that you know and value their opinions are also a great source of information for you in looking for somebody who can help you. Thinking through some of the issues that you might have in your family is also a great way to start when you're going to be talking to a professional about estate planning and what your goals and needs might be.
I agree. I mean, oftentimes we get referrals from financial advisors as well as other tax professionals, and it's important to sort of collaborate with them as well. So typically most of my clients have already been prodded by other financial advisors or their other advisors, and we collaborate pretty well to design usually a comprehensive, cohesive plan for them and work well together. So I would say that a lot of the legwork for those clients has already been done by those other advisors, and really they've identified sort of the thornier, more stickier issues that we need to just kind of talk through. But preparing a balance sheet, and then identifying the fiduciaries that'll be named in your documents. That's largely it, I would say.
And I think you'll agree, working with a team of professionals to assist a client on all sides of their planning is really beneficial to the client. Everybody kind of has their part that they need to be in charge of to make sure the plan comes together in a cohesive way, and knowing that you've got advisors that the client is familiar with that they can turn to make sure things are wrapped up on the back end once the documents are drafted is a really invaluable part of our process. And when we have advisors that we can work with for a client's plan, I really do think that that gives everybody the best outcome.
Yes, marching in the same direction.
Absolutely.
For the financial advisors that I work closely with, the best ones, I would say, already do this, but I'm sure the others are thinking about it as well. And that is, once we put the infrastructure in place, the documents have been drafted and executed, the next part is funding the trusts, right? A moment ago we were talking about avoidance of probate using a revocable trust. Well, that's great, but if you haven't changed the titling or updated the beneficiary designations to synchronize with those documents, you've just sort of had this great infrastructure that we put together, but it's just empty until you pass away. And we haven't avoided the issues that we originally sought to avoid.
And we get asked frequently by clients, what do I need to do now in order to get these documents that you've prepared for me ready to use? Do I need to do anything now? And the easy answer is when we can say, your advisor's got this handled, and we can communicate directly with the advisor on the retitling of accounts and the making of new beneficiary designations. It really takes the burden off the client to do that, and I think it really works well for all parties because the advisors know what it is that needs to be done, and we can work with them to give them the information they need to make that seamless for their clients.
Yeah. Just follow up. Once you've executed the documents, it's not over. There is homework for everybody, and if the financial advisors and accountants can make things easy in terms of retitling and updating the beneficiaries, that's fantastic.
And when we can share information directly with them, we can really make sure that
Right.
part of the work is done. So I hear a lot of discussion about AI and how that impacts the legal industry in particular. And while I still think the days when people will say, draft a will for me to some type of AI creator are probably a ways off, I recently ran up against a situation where somebody had asked AI to create an operating agreement for their single member LLC. And it really was not great. It really took me by surprise to know that that's where this document had come from. So while there's probably some great uses for AI, globally speaking, I hope everyone will realize that the AI can't replace the discussion with a lawyer about what needs to be in the documents. No AI is going to be able to predict the situations that talking with an attorney in the area can do. So it was really surprising to me to see that, and honestly, it was the first time and hopefully the last time.
Yeah, that's a great cautionary tale. I mean, it's sort of like LegalZoom in a sense. We get LegalZoom documents in here occasionally that we need to help administer, and I can't count the number of times I've found deficiencies in all of them. There's usually some error off at times it could be fatal, but it's kind of, buyer beware sort of
Right.
situation there. And so I don't know that, the legal industry adopting AI, I think it's very suspect at the moment. I don't know many friends at large firms that have just started utilizing it to minimize their workload or anything like that. Not in terms of drafting, which is largely what we do. you know, I would say it's helpful internally between, you know, just sort of organizing your tasks and that sort of stuff. That's probably very helpful. It may even be helpful in note-taking. I'm not sure. But, and assigning tasks for the people that have been involved in a meeting or something to that, you know. But at the moment, I don't think it's going to replace an actual human being and the advice that a human being can offer, right? So there's practical knowledge there that I'm sure.
Well, and a
the
professional
computer
turning
just can't.
to it and using it as a resource when they know what should be included and what shouldn't is a little bit different than a layperson who is turning to it as a substitute for legal advice. And so they're, in a sense, becoming their own lawyer because AI is not going to have any type of legal relationship with them and not owe them any duty
That's right.
that a lawyer will be able to. So
That's right.
that's
Yeah.
hopefully it won't replace us.
That's right. It'll increase some suits against ChatGPT, though, I'm sure.
It could be.